I think I'm live. Am I live, YouTube? Come on. Welcome, everyone. October 2023. Professor Matthews, learning about movies. Live stream. Here we talk about all kinds of things, recommendations, and your questions. So put them in the chat. The viewers of this channel, I always compliment them because it's true. Very good people. Very smart. And one of my projects recently, as some of you know, let me show you. In fact, the project at the moment is, and here's my Substack, is I'm going through the movies of the early 1980s year by year and trying to figure out what the best picture nominees should have been, and what the best picture should have been in each year. And actually what prompted this was my recent video. I did a video, as you might have seen, on what the best movie year ever was. The best movie year ever in terms of great movies, depth of movies. And it was that video. Go check it out. It's doing very well, in my opinion, which has a fantastic comment section. I mean, not only did I give my opinion on and reasons for why I thought a specific year was the best movie year ever. At least right now, my opinion might change. But the commenters on that were fantastic. So I am, in fact, mind that video for the comments. And I would never say that about YouTube comment sections. Usually, unfortunately, sorry YouTube, but it's a cesspool of nonsense. This time, this video, fantastic. Lots of great advice, lots of things to look for and look at in that video. So go check it out, because this is my most recent one other than this live stream. And you can see on my Substack, I was so moved by the year 1982, which I've been messing around with, researching, that I wrote about it a little bit. I found it fascinating, the list of Best Picture nominees of that year. And then it was very clear to me that if you just did the best science fiction movies of that year, which includes Blade Runner and The Thing, that was a better set of Best Picture movies than the ones they nominated, in my opinion, and probably for a majority of viewers of this channel. And then 1982 turns out to have a number of excellent movies, some of which haven't been seen, even by me, not very often seen by many people. So I would check out this Substack. And by the way, this is where you donate, and I need donations. I must say that I'm a one-man band hobbyist, and I'm trying to improve my channel. 180p instead of 720p is my recent battle, and a number of tech issues that I'm ignorant of. But I do this all myself, and it's out of love, because I make almost nothing off this channel. Again, I couldn't possibly even pay the rent with what YouTube gives me. So feel free to donate. It's $30 a year, the lowest possible number for the Substack. And I try to write on what I want to write about, or what's coming to mind. That's the easiest thing to do. But I thought this was a pretty good article on my part, if I must say. So chat. I'm going to check you out in the chat. I'm going to look at your questions, and we're going to do Criterion Channel recommendations. Because here, this live stream, I always like to say, hey, these are the movies you might like to check out. That's one of the most popular things about the channel. But, of course, other questions about movies, because I'm all things movies. Also, my project about 80s movies, I want to see things I haven't seen, and then sort of kind of see how things evolve and change over time. Also, the zeitgeist of eras. I was thinking about 1970s movies. People love 1970s American movies. But when did that end? And it didn't end with a calendar year of 1980. It's just an arbitrary year. So, but some people would say it ended with Heaven's Gate's box office bomb in November of 1980. I actually don't think that's true. It's more of a subtle and gradual change over probably the early 80s, from the 70s American New Wave stuff, Coppola and Scorsese and et cetera, to more of a studio-driven blockbustery sort of stuff in the later 80s, which makes Tarantino say he doesn't like the 1980s very much. But I think that's wrong. I'm going to go through at least the calendar years and figure out Best Picture revisions. So anyway, blah blah. There you go. Substack and Letterboxd. Yep, doing pretty well in Letterboxd. Writing about every movie if I've reviewed it. No, these are not formal reviews on my part. They're sort of gut reactions and little write-ups to myself as the primary audience, and you're in on sort of my movie diary. but I do think I have my opinions and try to write to myself. This has been very handy to me personally. So, but go follow me here. If you follow me, I'll look at your stuff too. I do that pretty much for everybody, and I love following people there and seeing what they wrote about movies. It's very helpful to me. One thing coming up for me, going through the early 80s movies, is we are having, I think this is well known, sort of a crisis of movie curation. You know, Netflix, Hulu, etc. They primarily show movies from the last 20 years, primarily on streaming services. This is what they have. Movies from 2000 to the present, even 2010 to the present. And I have encountered a number of movies that are just 40 years old, were widely released by movie studios, on top 10 Siskel and Ebert type lists that I cannot find on streaming or on disc. So one of those, I just did this today in order to figure this out. One of those was written by Harold Pinter. Let's see if I can bring this up here. New tab. And the thing about this movie is that the title is bad because there's been 100 movies with this title. Oh, it's the first result here. Betrayal. Ben Kingsley, Jeremy Irons, top 10 Siskel and Ebert list of the year. Who's in this? Patricia Hodge. And as I said, Harold Pinter wrote this. I don't know what awards it got, but I cannot, it's not available on DVD. I can't, at least in the United States. That's all I mean. And it's not available on streaming. Where am I supposed to find this movie if no one has it and no library in my interlibrary loan service has this? I can't even watch it. So this is awful. So I'm encountering this more and more. And there's actually several movies from this period of time, 1980 to 1983, I have zero access to. And they're only 40 years old. This isn't like something lost from the silent movie era or something from the 30s that no one's heard of or some international movie that never got a lot of buzz. Anyway, that's not a complaint. It's just, of course, I'm all about buying physical media. And, most of us don't have a lot of funds to do that. But I think it's prudent. Because guess what? When I went to go buy this, I don't have it. But I know of it. I've seen it a couple times. The Year of Living Dangerously by Peter Weir. Again, top 10 Siskel and Ebert list. Mel Gibson, Sigourney Weaver. It's got an Oscar nominee or winner for Linda Hunt. I can't remember. Really interesting movies. Time period, Indonesia. Australian journalist in Indonesia. I think in the 60s. I can't find this thing except if I want to pay $160 for the Blu-ray. And then I went on Amazon and it was like $160. Now, I can get the DVD through interlibrary loan. It's not going to look very good. But I'm just saying it's hard to find these movies. Although I think this one I can probably rent. Yeah. That's the nice thing about Letterboxd, by the way. People ask me, where do you find these movies? How do you find a movie? I just go to Letterboxd, I look it up, and I can click on all services. And I've shown some of you this before. And you can obviously change the country here to any country in the world and then change your IP using a VIP. But anyway, you get the rent and buy stuff, so you can find this one. I'm just saying that the physical media for this movie is extremely high. and you wonder if it's like an investment even to buy these movies and then they go up in value because then the discs become rare. Don't know. Okay. Substack. By the way, someone was asking me here, is Substack the best way to financially support / donate? The answer is yes, because YouTube takes half. If someone gives a super chat on YouTube, didn't you not know this? Maybe you didn't. YouTube takes half of that. Okay, fine, whatever. But Substack takes 10%. So if someone pays me through Substack, I get 90%, and it's wonderful. So it's just a simple, to me, it's a donation to the channel. I mean, I'm doing all this stuff, so feel free to do that. Also, by the way, we have Discord. Also, by the way, type into YouTube, there will be duds. There will be duds, D-U-D-S. Sorry, I need to put a link up to them. I've been on their podcast 3 times now. They also have a channel on YouTube. And so we just talked about Suspiria. Dario Argento's Suspiria, which I had never seen. And I had some opinions about that. If you like the movie, you may not want to hear. These guys didn't like the movie much either, but go check them out because I like them and it's fun to be on their podcast. So just giving them a shout out. All right, I'm very quickly gonna go through recommendations. Besides, what I watched, you can check that out on. If I go to the activity under my letterbox, you can check out what I watched. No, it's not activity. It's the diary. So if you go look at that, you can see what I watched, and it's very clear I am watching through 1980s movies, early 1980s movies, mostly. Has been my project, which has been super fun, and I'm learning a lot. You think learning about movies is about you? It's actually about me too, because it prompts me to watch things I haven't seen or rewatch things I haven't seen for a long time. So a lot of these, 1980, 1983, and some of these right in this stretch right here that I'm highlighting, this is the 1982 zone where I was really genuinely shocked. There were a number of very good movies here that either are not very well known or probably underrated, like Coppola's One from the Heart, for example. A movie I didn't know had such amazing influence. I knew it was Blade Runner 2049 stuff in One from the Heart, but I hadn't seen One from the Heart, Coppola's box office bomb, which is really technically fascinating to me. I didn't realize it was that extensively quoted in more modern movies. So One from the Heart, I definitely recommend just because of its influence. You may hate it, as Ebert and Siskel and Ebert and other people did at that time. Okay, so Criterion is turning into, for good or for ill, more of a popular streaming service. They're getting more and more popular, populist fare, and that's okay, except for the threat that they are pulling from other servers, like Disney. Fox is owned by Disney, and then showing edited versions of The French Connection, which drove me crazy and got I made a video on that in the summer. And so I don't know if these movies are edited or in their complete version, but they have, like, right there, techno thrillers. This is up my alley. I love science fiction, obviously, and this is good stuff here. So if I click on that, this is a great curated collection. Minority Report, Paprika, I love Dark City. Actually, there's a question here. What was my favorite movie as a child? And so there's probably 6 or 8 of them, actually, is the answer. But one of them I liked as a kid was this movie, Sneakers. Maybe you don't know about it. It's great. I rewatched it pretty recently. Great post-Cold War stuff. 1992, Robert Red. Look at this. There's a big cast here. Sidney Poitier's in this. Ben Kingsley, Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, and the list goes on. I can't remember David Strathern. I can't remember everybody, but really interesting to sort of early or pre-internet tech world, hackers and such. And I like this movie's atmosphere. You may not like it, but as a kid, I probably saw this thing 8 to 10 times. No doubt about it. I thought it was fun. Wonder if I could show that to my kids. But there are some fun movies here for sure. Now that's not all. I like the service. I think it's cheap and it's better than anything else because it curates classic movies and modern movies now better than ever. So, scrolling down through here, I always look, and two things stuck out at me as I surveyed this. The Leaving is what I usually look at with you, but the newly added, they have a lot of newly added it's pretty impressive. In fact, I'm a little worried they're going to up the price of their service because it's like, wow, okay. Can you really afford all these movies? Let's look at what's leaving. The most helpful thing, An Anatomy of a Murder. I didn't like that movie when I watched it about 15, 20 years ago. I rewatched it recently and thought it was amazing. So go watch Otto Preminger's Anatomy of a Murder with George C. Scott playing a prosecutor, one of his early roles, and Jimmy Stewart playing a Machiavellian, sort of unscrupulous defense attorney. A wonderful movie in every way, and it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and every minute is great. In my opinion, I love what it's about. So that lawyer justice thing that they were doing, a la 12 Angry Men, I mean, this movie, I think, is having a pretty serious conversation with 12 Angry Men, which is a principled movie for sure, about ideals and values, and then Anatomy of a Murder throws a giant wrench in that machine, idealistic machine. Sitting right next to it, Do the Right Thing. So if you haven't seen Do the Right Thing, they'll probably put it back on the channel because it's in the collection. But always we're seeing Spike Lee as auteur in his heyday. I've never covered Do the Right Thing on the channel. I'm not even sure how to do it yet, but I probably will one day. And then under that is a great movie I like a lot. I also haven't covered this, but I want to. Deep Cover. I discovered this maybe just a year ago. Criterion put it in their collection. I never heard of it when it came out, but it's a great noir with Lawrence Fishburne. Obviously, you see Jeff Goldblum in this. Bill Duke is a fantastic director. I did not know this. I saw him as one of the dudes in Predator who gets destroyed or killed by an alien. But I did not know he was a good director. And so you can see that on display here. And I think this is an undiscovered classic, quite honestly. And I love the 90s film noir era. Why can't they bring film noir back? I keep complaining about this, but the 90s reevaluated, revised noirs in great ways. There's a lot of good ones at that time. Let's do it today, and I don't think it won't take much money, not a lot of investment. I think A24 had a noir? A24 noir? Surely they have, but I'm not coming up with one immediately. I bet some of you know and will put it in the chat for me. I haven't looked at this entirely. There was a Marx Brothers movie up there, which is pretty easy to find on disc. Minority Report, easy to find on disc, but you can see it on the service. A lot of these I have not heard of. Okay. Huh. There's Dark City, one of my favorites. There Will Be Duds podcast. I did it about a month ago. I talked to the guys about that. So you can check that episode out. But I think I've got a Dark City video coming out in about 3 or 4 months. So it looks like some of their techno thrillers are there for a month and then they're leaving, which is typical of stuff that they don't have in the collection. As far as the newly added go, here's some recommendations for you. Existence by Cronenberg I really like this movie. It's super slow, and it may drag on to people. But he's really doing well on Philip K. Dick material. Now I'm blanking on the Philip K. Dick novel he was dealing with here, and he doesn't even say it overtly or acknowledge it in the movie. There's Philip K. Dick and his cat. But I'm looking up the novel because I just love Dick more and more as we go. Don't take that out of context what I just said because it's the author. But the author, Philip K. Dick, whose novels I'm looking through in order to find this. Oh, golly. Wikipedia. But it's one of his... there we go. Maybe I can find it here. Cronenberg likes Philip K. Dick a lot. And the novel... You should read this novel and then watch this movie. I suggest it. A Maze of Death. So, A Maze of Death is really fun, messed up book. And then when you watch Cronenberg's, let's see if we can find it, Existence, you will see very, very strong shades of that. So, just pairing those two. And then, of course, there's all these techno thrillers here and 1990s horror classics. Quite honestly, I have not seen them, but I looked at this one. I had heard of it, but I didn't hear of it at the time in the 90s. So I watched John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, which must be the H.G. Lovecraft, right? I must be. So anyway, Age of Innocence by Scorsese, that's in the collection. Any others on here that you would recommend? I caught a couple Abel Ferrara movies. Sneakers, as I mentioned. Any on here that you recommend that are added to the channel that I'm scrolling through or scanning? And I haven't even said anything about movies before 1980s, so let me give you one. Island of Lost Souls. If you like H.G. Wells' Dr. Moreau, which I do a lot, Island of Dr. Moreau, this is the one. It's based on that short, great novella. It's quoted in Jim Jarmusch's Patterson pretty extensively. The characters go to watch this movie in Patterson and comment on it. and the vibe is totally different between Patterson and this movie. So I think we are supposed to see an overlap there. It is riveting and way better than you would think. Who's that? Yeah, Charles Lawton is in this. I forgot. Yeah. In fact, I think he plays the Dr. Moreau figure. So anybody interested in horror movies in October, I know this is not going to jump scare you, but I thought it was intellectually and aesthetically fascinating as a movie, and I can't recommend it enough. I have not covered it in an individual video on my channel. I will do that one of these years. That's right. So that's an old movie that I strongly, strongly recommend. And you can see some others on here. There's a Preminger, there's a Cirque movie, and on and on. It just doesn't stop with them. So to me, again, and I said this for 2 or 3 years, what about you? But Criterion is my one-stop shop. I just canceled my HBO Max, which is Max subscription. I don't need it. They have what I need, plus the media that I've got on my own. So lots of good stuff here. All right. Well, we're 20 minutes in. So now, I feel like I've given a bunch of recommendations. Also, check out my videos, but let me check out the chat. This is what I like to do. You guys are great. I'm going to leave this up here. What am I going to leave up? We'll put Substack up. One thing I was thinking about writing on Substack, I don't talk about my students much because I don't think it's proper, but I'll generalize about them. I just showed Banshees of Inisherin in class, and many of them, these are 18 to 20-year-old American students, were quick to judge it as very boring and needlessly long. And I found that fascinating. That Banshee, this is a 2022 movie. Martin McDonagh, writer, director, acclaimed, obviously. And, I'll try my best to first of all, to say analysis and judgment. They don't necessarily have to overlap. You can analyze without judging. But also that the movie is about contemporary topics. Friendship and loneliness. Quitting people, blocking people on the internet. So things like that are attached or could be attached to the movie. Still, we get this judgment that was extremely boring. I've been pondering that because what are Gen Z, or whatever they're called now, Gen ZZ or Gen A, I don't know. What are their tastes and preferences? And I think at this moment, with 18-year-olds, you've had iPhones or smartphones their whole lives, plus they've had Lego movie aesthetics for their whole lives as well. So in other words, Lego movie, I think of that as a very manic movie. Then there are a number of children's animated fare that are like this in the last 10 years. So I think we've had students and other people grow up with TikTok, with that stuff, with phones. And now I'm getting, I think, their preferences and tastes at the moment at least. And it's, pretty dismissive in my very, very small sample size, pretty dismissive of anything that's not fast-paced and hard-hitting and moves quickly, boom, boom, boom. So I was going to write about that. I'm not sure what to write about, but I think I'm going to write about that. Anyway, Substack stuff, so. Oh, this is new, by the way, for YouTube. They're warning me, or telling me, that they're going to run ads during the live stream. YouTube just started this forced live stream ad thing. I'm going to skip it and see what happens. I don't like watching ads on YouTube. I bet you don't either. So I will forsake my money, whatever $5 I will make off that, and just skip it. All right. I will depend on you to donate. So there you go. Hello, Hippolito. He's on my Discord. He or she. I don't know. Probably he. Check out my Discord because if you want to ask me a question or any of these great commenters a question, Discord, because that's where I go for more intimate personal conversations. If people ask me questions on YouTube, beyond the first question, I don't go through comment trees. So there you go. Have I seen The Creator? Yeah, I had a math professor, my buddy, stop by my office and go, yeah, you're going to see this, right? And I will see it. There it is. I will see it, but Where's this at? A science fiction film. It just came out. And the director is Gareth Edwards. I actually kind of like his movie Monsters. I think that was his first movie, science fictional movie. It was a nice atmosphere in that thing. And I know he did the Star Wars movie too. I will see this. I haven't made time. I have had a lot to do. And I think that's most of our positions on movies coming out in the theater now, which is very dangerous. I know a lot of people not going to the movie theater anymore who used to go every week. Why would we go to see this when we can do other things? And so I think the marketing for movies, at least, is very terrible and aimed towards the Gen Z types. At least it's not getting my generation, I think, as much, or the people I know who are my age as much. So, no, I didn't go see this. Yes, I will see it. Oh, music by Hans Zimmer. Okay. And Edwards is citing all of these as influences, which, okay, I'll go see it. But I haven't reviewed it. I'm not into reviewing new movies recently for some reason, but I think I'll go once Scorsese movie hits, The Killers of the Hunter Moon or The Hunter of the Killer Moon, whatever it is. And then from October through December will be more, this month through December will be more of a reviewing period for new movies, as long as there's something in my theater, because honestly there's been very, very little besides this movie. So, in my opinion, that is worth going to see. Yeah. Oh, is Betrayal? That was the movie I was complaining about. Is Betrayal on YouTube? Sweet. You know, I never really think to go to YouTube. I should. If it's on YouTube, that's YouTube fulfilling its purpose as a video library for the world. I love it. So great. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. Top 5 Western movies. Ali Kamal. Where are you from, Ali? We got people from around the world here. Norway and so on. Norway and Virginia. Top 5 Westerns. I don't know. Those change. You know, I think I did a video on this. Although, did I do a video on underrated Westerns? I can't remember. One of them, and I've got a list on Letterboxd. So I'm probably riffing on it or even denying it. Certainly, Once Upon a Time in the West is a fantastic movie. I think it's my favorite Leone. Arguably, it's his best. So there's that one. Other than that, there's like a constellation of 10 to 15 of them that I think are really important and watchable. Among which are The Searchers and Stagecoach, okay? But there's others too. And so I feel like the Western as a genre is better experienced after watching about 50 of them. And it sounds like a huge task. So do it over the course of several years. But, you know, they're all in a conversation with each other. And the great ones aren't isolated. They're always touching contemporary issues, the time they came out. They're always talking to each other in some way. The later ones obviously talking to the earlier ones. So that's my cop-out answer. Is like you got to watch about 50 of them. Unforgiven by Eastwood, obviously. But there's a bunch of them that are not heralded and quite good, I think. So check out my list on Letterboxd as my answer to that wonderful question. People are saying the A24 Noir is Uncut Gems. Is it? You know, you're probably right. I just haven't thought of it as a noir. Oh, yeah, it certainly is. Good job, guys. This is fantastic, yeah. And A24 should do more noirs, because that was a very, very good movie. Uncut Gems. I just recommended it to my colleague the other day, because he's a Minnesota Timberwolves guy. And Kevin Garnett is in it, if you know who that is. Oh, Hippolyto's playing. Okay, good. You're gonna watch Island of Lost Souls. Let me know what you think in the Discord. Yeah, I haven't seen Peaky Blinders. It's been recommended to me. I don't know if it's good. It sounds like it's got a lot of stuff in it that my wife would hate, and it's a TV show. So I'm always this is getting trickier. Do you want to invest 30, 50, 100 hours in a show versus just watching all the best movies from a certain year? It takes less time to watch all these movies from 1983 that I haven't seen than it does watching one TV show. Fact of life. So let me know if I should watch Peaky Blinders. Jim Hilkin says, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a Gen Z, a whatever flavor of the month. So yeah, my response to my Gen Z students is, whoever they are, is that I'm going to probably show more manic stuff and see what happens. We'll start with screwball comedies. We're gonna do bringing up baby, something like that. Dark City would be a good one because it's like a cut every 2 seconds. Everything Everywhere is a good one because it is everything under the sun and it is crazy. And I'm trying to pick like different fare that's they wouldn't know. Many of them wouldn't know, but is quite fast paced. And I wanted to do an experiment on them. And quite honestly, there's a lot of stuff from the silent era that, on the one hand, it's fast paced. On the other hand, it's like, reading Beowulf to them because it's silent. And a number of people don't like that black and white silent, not a movie in their opinion. So it's always a challenge to do that. Opinion on, I love this question from JTag. Opinion on Conan the Barbarian and Excalibur 81-82. Yep, you get a lot of sword and sorcery stuff after Star Wars, 1977, and it sort of rising up around 1979-ish, as far as I remember, through the mid-80s, maybe late 80s. It's not like it stopped, but I think a bulk of many movies are sword and sorcery-ish with like some science fiction stuff. Like all of Star Wars, Krull by Peter Yates, Masters of the Universe, Excalibur was one, but Dragon Slayer. So do I have an opinion on these? Beastmaster, another one. Willow. I like these movies. I genuinely like them. I think they're very fun. Either they're unintentionally bad. Well, they're unintentionally funny in the bad way. Or they're just fun. So Conan is pretty dark. You get to Red Sonja. Conan, what's the second Conan movie too? You get to those with the Schwarzenegger, stuff, and they're a little lighter hearted. I'm not recommending them necessarily. You've got to like that stuff. Tough guy, ripped muscle, slaying dragons with animals as companions sort of movies. Women in skimpy clothing. And of course, what did George Lucas do? He rode the wave. Return of the Jedi basically does a lot of that work, at least in its first half. You look at the Jabba the Hutt sequence, and how is it not like Conan the Barbarian flavored? You got to think of that in those terms. And George Lucas's response to that is like, I ride the wave. So anyway, I like those, but I can't say you should go watch them because I don't think they're for everybody. You got to have the taste. John Milholland says, I think Kung Fu Panda movies did a lot of damage. Me and my children, I love the show Gumball, but it is manic, but it's wildly witty. But we tried this Cartoon Network show called Adventure Time. I don't know if you've seen Adventure Time, and I don't know if I should pursue it, but it was crazy. Like something new every 30 seconds. And my brain does not handle that for some reason. Now, that's my response to the Lego movie. Lego Batman, which I like Lego Batman a lot. I think it's fun. But I get exhausted after about 45 minutes of that movie. Again, my taste preferences, upbringing, and so on. Maybe I'm just too old. Maybe I'm getting older and I'm slower. But, that's Kung Fu Panda. I had the same reaction. Like, there's some clever things going on in here, but 50 minutes in, I need a break from this. I'll never forget me and my wife looking at each other, taking our kids to the Lego movie. It wasn't what we thought it was going to be. That was like something new every 30 seconds. And so, yeah, then your question is, how are those things shaping and forming students, young people? high school, college age. Like, I don't know. For good or for ill, it's their taste in life. And certainly TikTok is a huge, huge deal there. Some new video every 30 seconds. So we're probably going to start to see how that affects movie watching and then the history of movie taste and preferences. I think that'll be fascinating. I don't think it'll be great, probably. I think it'll limit their taste. They're going to have a hard time with Tarkovsky. I know that from personal experience, by the way, but it's going to be very challenging. I have never seen Saw. I was told by the There Will Be Duds guys, the podcast There Will Be Duds, to watch the first Saw. Because they said it was actually a legitimately good horror movie, and then the rest of them are what you think they are. Body shock horror, crazy stuff. Should I watch Saw then? SAW, the first movie? I don't know. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of those where I can rate that anything from 0 to 5 stars, and I haven't. That's the question here. I have no earthly idea. Influential, well made. You've seen it even though you haven't, kind of movie. On the other hand, I don't know what it's about. What's the morality of it? What's its messaging? What's all the thematic threads running through it, from psychological to social to cultural, American commentary, etc. Like, I don't know. So I've copped out on rating Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974, the original. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not going to recommend it. Let's put it that way. I think if you were a wise, mature person who can handle anything, go ahead and watch it. I think if you're a young person who is easily influenced, it's probably not the greatest thing to watch. But I'm a moralist, so there you go. Films from India. Yes, give me a list of your best films from India. Because, other than Satyajit Ray, I don't have a great knowledge of India, honestly. And that's a shortcoming, and I acknowledge it. Because India has a very huge list of movies and a long tradition. But quite honestly, in America, we don't really have, I think for ordinary people, a knowledge of Indian cinema. I know there's scholars in American universities and so on about this, but less and less do we know. And by the way, I love Indian food. My favorite ethnic cuisine, Italian and Indian. They're the best. So maybe if the movies are as good as the food, I'm all in. There you go. Feel free to go to the Discord and post something in there. Would you say? So I'm gonna ask the questions. How do we feel about Orson Welles? He's fantastic. His films, fantastic. Very early in my YouTube career, they're like low quality videos now, but I did Orson Welles top 10 list. I covered something. I did a Citizen Kane video. I need to do one on The Trial, an amazing movie that Criterion just released, and it'll be the first time I ever see it. I've said this before, but this is the one I've been waiting on. First time to see it in, high definition, because I've only had low definition qualities. And Citizen Kane, great. Orson Welles, great auteur, in my opinion. What do you say? Would you not say films like Conan Raiders, the Star Wars was the move away from more authentic, contemporary life based of the beloved 70s movie? Absolutely. You get Star Wars is the Jaws, Star Wars first blockbusters. And I would blame Empire Strikes Back, a movie I absolutely love, on probably, even the Lego movie phenomenon I just talked about. I feel like Empire Strikes Back is really the first to hop around, be colorful and dazzling, different shapes flying all over the screen. And it's fun for that movie and highly melodramatic, but all Marvel movies bow to Empire Strikes Back for good or for ill. And yeah, I think the move toward more fantasy-oriented teenage stuff that has merchandising involved, for good or for ill. We're now, we have that stuff writ large in our movie theaters, and those are the big movies of our day. You start to see that, I suppose, in the more tightly controlled studio era, going from the late 70s, definitely by the late 80s. I think that's the read or historical understanding I have right now. And I think the movies you mentioned, while Indiana Jones and Star Wars are famous, I think partly they're famous because they are the ancestors of things that we've seen the last 40 years that are popular, big budget fare. And they have made a lot of terrible derivatives. A couple more questions. Drive My Car. I need to see Drive My Car. You're dead right. I have it on my list, but my list is so freaking huge. Which of the Coen Brothers would I rewatch now and then? My wife would say True Grit for her, and I would probably say Inside Llewyn Davis, which is a movie I resisted liking because everybody else loved it when it came out, and it's like the most popular cinephile Coen Brothers movie. But that one sticks in my head. The music is fantastic in it, and what it's about is fantastic to me. But I love Burn After Reading. That's the unsung great Coen Brothers movie, in my opinion. So I might do a video on that. I like their later period. Their last 8 to 10 movies. Is this generation going to be in TikTok mode forever? I don't know. The slow cinema movement of 10 years ago or more, it was reactionary, but it didn't catch on mainstream wise. You would think there would be like reactions. There's always something happens and something reacts to it that might be just as big, but I don't know. And will people like back off of TikTok? I would think if they're, so let's say they're real, this is just me spitballing, like what do I know? But I think if there are real world consequences, like more and more mental health problems, then phones will be to blame, and you'll see this over the long term. Then the people raised on it, some of them will react against it and not allow it or not have it around or not buy it. But then again, I don't know, because maybe it's so ubiquitous that that'll only be a small, tiny countercultural movement. I am not on TikTok because I don't believe in 30-second to a minute movie reviews. That is to my financial detriment. And probably I should go into that, but it's just hard for me to get used to TikTok and all the scrolling, or Instagram Reels, scrolling through all the videos. It's difficult for me to know how one can learn well from that. And this is titled, the channel's learning about movies. Like, you got to sit and absorb things and ponder things. I don't know that the medium allows that. Anyway, you don't need a TikTok rant from me, though. Can you make a video about the influence of one movie or genre of movies had on other movies? I can. It just takes a lot of time. Yeah, I'm all about saving myself time here. The giant question for me is do you want a video a week, which is what I'm about, plus live streams, plus new reviews, and anything else I might add? Or do you want like a video every 2 weeks to a month in which I can go deeper and do more research and spend a lot of concentrated time on one video? And the answer I've had so far is to pump out a lot of videos, because the algorithm rewards that, in my opinion. You get a lot of people searching for this or that, the other thing, and they'll sort of come to you. And maybe eventually I can do more videos like that. I probably need a research assistant. But I think that I love the idea of a video about an influence of one movie on other movies. I would love to do a movie or videos on movie quotes. I'm just fascinated by that. I don't think people know enough about how any movie today is really a stitched together batch of scenes of older movies. Right? I mean, in a way, nothing's original. And that's not bad. So you take any movie, and it's like stitched together stuff from other movies, older movies. Well, let's look at that. Let me try to prove that to you. So I'd love to do that. It just takes a lot of time. That would be a video that takes a lot of time. So that's my problem with that, but I like the idea a lot. Thank you. video on Godfather 3 failing where parts 1 and 2 succeeded. I actually like Godfather 3. Sorry, I do. I don't need to apologize. I think it's a fine movie. It's just in the shadow of these all-time classics that will be around the next 200 years. So Godfather 2 is one of my favorite movies ever. Godfather 1 is great. And Godfather 3 is just sitting there like, how can you not? And it fails in the contrast test. Everything is contrasted to something else. So I think in itself it's fine. I like the ending of the movie a lot. I know there's flaws. So it's hard for me to just, I'll probably put it on, I'll probably do a video on it being underrated. That's actually what will happen. Is Tarkovsky my favorite director? I would always have said Kurosawa. If I got one, or Kieślowski. So those are the two that still stand there, and they have been since the beginning of this channel. You know, Tarkovsky, he's fantastic. He's in the top 5. I don't know. Can you rank these people? They're among the greatest artists in the 20th century. They might be among the greatest artists in the last 500 years. Like, I don't know. So Tarkovsky is really great. Yes. And he's always in my mind. Because he made some of the greatest movies I have ever seen. Go check him out. I did a lot of videos on Tarkovsky stuff on the channel. You guys are fantastic. This is just great stuff. Don't even want to stop. I know I'm missing questions. Sorry, but I will try. I'm trying my best. I don't have Instagram. I stopped that. Should I use Instagram for this channel? My wife is on there. She's good at it. She's good at photography. I am not great at Instagram stuff. I feel like that's not my medium either, but I probably could be. I could probably put a shot from a movie on there. One thing my problem is, and this is a question for you all, do you believe in individual shots from movies? They become good photographs, good painting-like things. The problem with that is rarely do we experience individual shots from movies. We see them in time and then they change and develop. So movies are motion pictures, not still images. And I'm always a little not revolted, but a little bit troubled by movie stills. Because that's not how I ever experience a movie. Other than La Jetée. That one is different, but everything else. So for Instagram, should I analyze a shot? Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, that'd be fun. So maybe I'll try it. I just think I kind of like the videos as a medium better, so I work on those. Yeah, okay, someone's posting the Indian films to watch there, and the Apu trilogy shows up, but then there are a bunch of others I have not heard of. Well, a couple I've heard of, but I've not seen. So good job. Thank you very much, Nerdy One. I should show Tokyo's Story to my students. Yeah, even I will fall asleep. Nothing wrong with that. Ozu's fantastic in so many ways. It's just, man, do you have to pay attention. Man, you have to hone in. Man, you have to... That is of a different language and a different pacing, obviously. So, questions were fantastic. Recommendation, Substack. Thank you so much for whoever does that. Letterboxd, YouTube videos. You all are great. Thank you for supporting the channel in whatever way you do. If it's just clicks, fine. If it's donations, if it's follows, great. Thank you so much. I'll be out there again. More stuff on what's the best movie from 1981, 1982. That's what I'm working on. Along with individual videos about movies, which in October, yep, I'm going to do a couple horror movies. Horror genre, not my thing as much as other genres, but I always find something that is fascinating to me, so hopefully some of these are fascinating to you. Discord is great. Thank you, everybody. Love you. See you later. Have a great week, a great month.